It's depressing that the first time you guys have Father Maxey back with you, you have to hear the deacon again. So I apologize for that. But I have to say I felt like such a bad son this morning when I was praying my rosary, because it's the feast of Our Lady of Lourdes, one of the most beautiful apparitions in our church in 1856 when she appeared in France. And I have nothing to say about her in the homily today. So I just ask you to all take a moment to perhaps today look into that apparition. It's incredible. And St. Bernadette, who she appeared to, is still incorrupt to this day. So you can see her incorrupt body online. But let's just say a quick Hail Mary, just in thanksgiving for God, for sending us His mother, and for her Immaculate Conception, which we celebrate today. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Immaculate Mary, pray for us. There's a famous saying that goes back to the earliest years of Christianity. The untouched is the unsaved. And basically the idea in this was that when God became man in Jesus Christ, He had to literally come into contact with everything in us in order to redeem us. And if He didn't touch it, He couldn't save it. The untouched is the unsaved. In today's gospel, we find Jesus once again leaving behind the multitudes in order to go into a deserted place, a place where no one dwelt but a solitary leper. Jesus Christ was a man of the wastelands because He came to seek and to save those who were dwelling in the wastelands. The unclean ones, the untouchables, the lepers. Today's readings speak a great deal about leprosy, and I know it's something we don't really have in our consciousness in America. We don't see leper colonies. We're not afraid of contracting it so much because it's not around us. But I see something much worse all the time around me, much more devastating than a leprosy of the flesh. It's a leprosy of the heart. You know what the first sign that someone's contracted leprosy is? They lose their sensory powers. They become incapable of feeling anything where they've contracted the disease. They become numb to pain, numb to touch, numb to everything. So what is a leprosy of the heart? Well, as human beings, when we experience any kind of traumatic event in our life, whether it be physical abuse of any kind, mental abuse, perhaps a death of a loved one, a divorce, growing up in a broken family, these traumas have the capacity to cause within us a leprosy of the heart. Because so often we're tempted, in order to escape the pain of that event, to bury it, to pretend that it didn't happen, that it didn't really affect me. And so we push it into our subconscious. And those events, when they are pushed into the wastelands of our hearts, they never go away. Rather, they infect everything with leprosy. And little by little, we become desensitized. We lose our ability to feel. We become numb to life. We become numb to love in our relationships. We become like the leper in today's gospel, always feeling unclean in ourselves, set apart from others, dwelling in the outskirts of our own self. Places where no one else can touch us. And the untouched is the unsaved. That is why Jesus Christ is a man of the wastelands. Because we are a people in the wastelands. And Jesus Christ came to seek and to save us in the wastelands of our own hearts, in the places where life has broken us, where love has failed us, so that He can find us there and touch us there and bring us back into communion with God and with one another. But the problem is, and I've seen this so many times in my 10 years of studying to be a priest, it's we who do not want to experience that touch of Christ. It's we who deny it. It's much easier, believe it or not, to remain with leprosy. There's a comfort in being numb. The touch of Jesus is painful because it's a healing touch. And the first sign that someone is healing of leprosy is what? Able to feel pain again. When the love of Christ truly touches us, it awakens our hearts in a cry of pain. Just like a child, when it's first born, it cries out in a wonderful cry of pain that signifies new life. So the touch of Jesus Christ in the depths of our hearts signifies in its pain the rebirth of our hearts, of our life, of our love. It's a new birth to new life, to new beginnings, an exodus from the wastelands, back into civilization, back into communion with God and with one another. But in order to experience it, we have to allow Him to find us there. And we can go through our whole life as Catholics, week after week after week, coming to Mass, and never experience the touch of Christ. Like a rock in a riverbed. It can be surrounded by water for 100 years and never penetrate it. Take it out of the water in 10 minutes, it's just as dry on the inside it's ever been. The untouched is the unsaved. Jesus can only save us when we allow Him to touch everything in us, especially what is broken. And that's why I believe that leprosy is so common in America today. That's why I believe that the average American watches at least 5 hours of television every single day, that our youth are addicted to video games and sports and iPhones. The more wounded we are inside, the greater the temptation is to flee the emptiness that we feel by always distracting ourselves and putting our attention on things outside of us. Anything to distract us from our own feelings, from our own traumas, from our own memories. Just stay busy. Stay in the noise. Do whatever we can to avoid the wastelands of our own hearts where Jesus Christ is always waiting for us. The whole purpose of the Incarnation 2,000 years ago was so that God could take on a body through which He could touch and heal us, our human nature, from the ravages of sin. He couldn't touch us without a body. He could not heal us without a body. And if He's going to touch us here today, 2,000 years later, He must come to us again, here and now, through a body, with a body, in a body, to make that touch possible. And that is why we have something that nobody else has in this entire world as Catholics. Because every single time we come to Mass, Jesus Christ comes to us in His Eucharistic body. His body, blood, soul, and divinity. And we have the opportunity to encounter him no different today than the leper did 2,000 years ago. But we have to believe in him. The leper didn't just see a man. He saw God walking in his wastelands. And he fell at his feet. He received his gaze and he let him touch him there. When you come up to receive Holy Communion, let us imitate the faith of that leper and allow Christ to come to us and touch us, our bodies, with his bodies. Through those words, those only words that are capable of saving us, that he whispers to us every single time we come to Mass. This is my body. Take it and eat it. It's given up for you. And he will save us all by the power of that touch.